Welcome back to the Dragon's Lair, everybody. My name is Wade, and this is my show, Only Lore. Only lore! In the grimdark of the 41st millennium, there is only lore. So right now I'm doing a series of the 40k timeline. I've seen a lot of people interested because of Space Marine 2. Hey, now we know there's going to be a Space Marine 3. I really got to get back into Space Marine 2. It was a good time, and it's actually come a long way. I played it like the first week that it was out, played it into the ground for 2 weeks, and then moved on to something else. So I should probably go back to it and figure out all the new cool stuff. But so right now we are in the Unification Wars. This is the time era that we're in right now. So you got to remember that previous to this, excuse me, Slanesh has been born. So there was all these warp storms that were causing problems. People couldn't communicate. People couldn't travel the warp, and it was a problem for a very long time. It cut off all the planets in the Imperium of Man, and it was all because Slanesh was gestating, and it's because the Eldar were super bored and got into some really bad, skeevy things. And anyways, so boom, the Eye of Terror right there. Boom, the Eye of Terror opens up, and Slanesh is born, which is bad for the Eldar. But anyways, so now that that's done, we can now travel the warp again. So this is the moment that the Emperor has been waiting for. There's Big E right there. This is the moment the Emperor has been waiting for. And he knows that this is his time to step back into the timeline and move things forward. So in the time that everything was separated from each other, the old night, if you will, Earth had devolved into like Mad Max, is what they say. So it's this barren apocalypse where like all the resources have been stripped bare, and everyone turned into the term that gets commonly used as techno barbarism. So they're like cyborgs with implants, and it's bad. Earth is bad. So Biggie decides he's going to unite all of Earth, and that's where he's got to start. You got to make your bed first, right? So he, moving through all of time, he has become an expert on every sort of science, everything, right? So he bioengineers the Adeptus Custodes, or the Custodes, all right? So the Custodes are perfect. He took his time with the custodians, and they're like his honor guard. That's a really bad image of them. They're his honor guard, and they're perfect. That's why there's so little of them. Um, this is why, coincidentally, and I'm not trying to start a flame war, I'm just saying, coincidentally, this is why I don't mind there being a female custodian. Because you got to remember back in the old, that's the custodes right there. You got to remember back in the old, like first or second edition codex, whatever it was, there's that little sidebar that explains that the reason why there's not any female space marines is that the process that it takes to make female space marines, like I said, don't kill me, internet, it doesn't stick very well. Like you could put 1,000 women through the process and only like 20% of them would come out, and that's not a very effective process. And it has to do with gene seed, and it has to do with it bonding better to the male chromosomes. And there's an explanation. Okay, so because custodians are perfect, they are the emperor meticulously toiled effortlessly to build them. um, that's why I don't mind, uh, because it would make sense that the female custodians would survive because 80% of them didn't die, like Space Marines. Like I said, don't kill me. I'm not trying to start a flame war. I'm just saying that's where those things come from. So when next time you see people fighting about it, that's where these things come from. Okay. So, anyways, he made the custodians, and he also made the Thunder Warriors. Okay, so where the custodians are perfect, they are the best example of humanity. That is a Thunder Warrior right there. That's like old, super old, beginning of 40k Thunder Warrior. Um, they are the precursors of the Space Marines, because where the custodians are perfect, the Thunder Warriors are ridiculously imperfect. So where the custodians are everything that's best about humanity dialed up to 11, the Thunder Warriors are the worst of humanity dialed up to 11. And most of the Thunder Warriors did not survive service very long because they were either killed or after they had been alive for a while, they started to become homicidal maniacs and they became harder to control. So Big E goes on this big campaign to unite Earth. There's tons of wars and fighting. I've listened to lore about it. There's a ton of lore about it. He finally unites Earth and then asks the custodians to kill the Thunder Warriors. So the Thunder Warriors that were left get taken out by the custodians. And that was a big secret for a long time. And a lot of people in the 40K in the world, like in the lore, don't even know that. But anyways, so the custodians wipe out the Thunder Warriors. Now, there are some that have survived. There's like one or two that shows up in novels and different stories and things like that. After Earth was unified, the Emperor destroyed all forms of religion. He outlawed all forms of religion. And he personally tore down the last church on Earth and made it illegal. Now, you're probably saying, hey, Wade, why is he then the God Emperor? That's because in the time, since the Horus Heresy, which we're not there yet, that message got lost and that message got degraded. Okay, so anyways, going back to what we're talking about. Once they unified Earth, he then moved on to Mars. He went over to Mars and they met and they had, they eventually made the Treaty of Mars. Okay, so here's the one exception. The Emperor outlawed all forms of religion except for the priests of Mars. They got to keep their religion. And so you got to remember that they believe in like this machine spirit. And there's this thing called the Omnissiah. Okay. And it's like, it's basically God. It's everywhere. It's in everything. And every machine has a spirit, just like we do, and so on and so forth. And so they actually acknowledged the Emperor as the avatar of the Omnissiah. Okay, so Big E is like Jesus in this storyline. Let's just come right out and say it. That's what it is, even though he says he's not. So anyways, that is the only religion that humans are allowed to have. And he made the one-time exception for the priests of Mars because he needed them. He needed their robots, he needed their machines, he needed their factories. So that's why he made a treaty with them, which is why the Aquila has two heads on it. That eagle has two heads on it. One of them is Earth and one of them is Mars. So once he has the Treaty of Mars put in, they build the Astronomicon. So the priests of Mars actually built the Astronomicon for him. And what's really important about the Astronomicon is it creates a psychic light in space. So it's like a lighthouse. And if you look at the Astronomicon, you can tell where Earth is. And if you can tell where Earth is, you can then, like sailors of old, you can use like a sextant, other tools in this case, to chart your way through the stars. It helps you understand up and down and left and right. It is a fixed point, and that is the purpose the Astronomicon originally serves. We all know it as the Golden Throne because they become one and the same thing, but we're not there yet because we're not in the Horus Heresy. We're getting there. We're going to get there. Don't worry about it. Okay. So it's at this point in time, he's got the backing of Mars, he's got the Thunder Warriors, and he knows what we got to do. We got to build ships, we got to build tanks, we got to build ammo, we got to build guns, and we need people to use those tanks, ammos, and guns. So he makes these Space Marines. He makes 20 legions of Space Marines. Now, you're saying, Wade, I only know 18 legions, 9 loyalists, 9 chaos. What about the other 2? Well, guess what? All knowledge of them has been scrubbed from recorded history. Not just our world history, but in 40K, something happened. No one knows what, but they scrubbed all knowledge of them. There are 2. There's a theory that one of them is the Legion of the Damned. If you don't know those guys, look them up. But here we are. This is the Unification Wars. Mars comes back into the fold. Religion is banned, and the Emperor of Mankind is on top. Thank you for watching the series. Go ahead and check out the other videos.